This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore.
So many comments on strength. How come I feel so weak, James? You sounded stronger. You want the notes? You all are a joy. What a joy to be together. Thank you to Soldat and the congregation, the elders here, to Tony, to dozens of workers in the background, to all the homes that were opened up, to the loving greetings of my brothers and sisters around the state. This is so refreshing. It's so wonderful to be able to do this. Let us build this on the truth of God and His Word, not on some surface desire for unity, but on the depth and the power of the truth of every word He has given us. That we can be united in what He teaches, in the person of who Jesus Christ is, and that perfect mixture of man and Word, that Jesus is the Word of God. What a great gift. So let us be His body, united across the state, individually in our own communities. Let's take the messages from this weekend and the encouragement this weekend and take it back home. So, do you know the name Louise White? Louise White. She just hit the news recently, early last month. She's an 81-year-old grandmother who lives in Newport, Rhode Island. She wanted somebody to take her to the store. They had an agreement to go to the store earlier in the day. They didn't go to the store earlier in the day, and finally later on in the evening, somebody was going to the store and said, Louise or Grandma, do you want to go? I've been wanting to go all day. Yes, let's go to the store. So they went to the store, and the family member went to the back and bought a half-gallon of sherbet for the family to have that evening, and Louise got something she needed, and then went up to the front counter and bought 3 lottery tickets. She kept one of those tickets in her Bible and slept on it that night, because a couple hours later they announced the numbers. Louise White won $336 million. '81-year-old grandmother, Newport, Rhode Island, $336 million. Just saying it gets, I'm tingling a little bit more thinking about that than I am about the nervousness of standing in front of you. $336 million. She took the lump sum to pay out. When you did that and then you subtract the taxes, it was a measly $144 million at that point. Why bother? It didn't make as much noise as the multi-state lottery did a few weeks ago, but when that was all boiled down and divided by 3 and taken away the money, they only got about $110 million for each of those winners. You know, we laugh about it, but lotteries are not a good thing. Lotteries they teach us a lot of foolishness. And they do some damage to our country. I'm not going to get off on the lotteries and preach about sin again, but that's not my point. But they teach us that money is the answer to our problems. They teach us that money is the way to happy lives. Boy, if I could only win one of those, man, then I would. They teach us that government should be the source of our satisfaction. Just everybody pool the money together, give it to the government, it'll make one of us really, really happy. That quick gain is the way to to grow in this life, not hard work. They teach us that that quick gain is the best way to get money. And economically, if you take the morality out of it, economically, they take billions of dollars out of the economy. And the truth of the matter is lotteries are just a tax. They are a voluntary tax. And what makes them worse is they tax mostly the lower economic scales. And they really do a lot of damage, like whittling away, hundreds of little knives whittling away at a great big tree. They're going to bring it down. Not our economy because of lotteries, but I mean they'll weaken the thing. Louise White, $330 million. The Bible has a few things to say about money and gives us some cautions about it. If you want to look at your notes, you can join me there. But I'm just going to go quickly through Matthew and Timothy and Luke and John and a couple of these verses we have listed here. And in Matthew 13:22, in the parable of the sower, we're told that money is deceitful. Money is deceitful. It's a liar and it props up lies. Now that's not the $330 million lottery they're talking about. They're talking about the change in your pocket. Money is deceitful. 1 Timothy 6, what we just read, this description was given to money when what we just read at the end of 1 Timothy. It's a temptation. It's a snare. There's many foolish aspects to it. It's harmful. It'll plunge us into ruin and destruction. That was just verse 9. That was just verse 9. Verse 10 says, it's evil. By it many have lost their faith. We're pierced with many griefs. In James chapter 5, in regard to money, we're to weep and howl, especially the rich, weep and howl in misery. It has caused rottenness, moth-eaten our lives, brought us into a corrosive condition, and at the end of verse 3 in James 5 says, it's consumed our flesh with fire. Okay, that's it. No more money. Be done with it. If that list doesn't convince you to have nothing to do with money, I can give you about 40 more scriptures that warn you about money. So what we're going to do, Tony, get some more buckets. We're going to collect up the rest of the money in the room. Tomorrow I want you to go to your bosses and say, I want no more pay for this job. I'm having nothing more to do with money in my family. I'm going to work for free. Amen. Start to see me. Hits the... CD said, I thought you were. Do not love the world or the things of the world. We're warned about the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life. 1 James chapter 2. Don't love it. Do not love it. Don't love it. Don't love it. We like to say in the Valley congregation on the Sundays leading up to the Super Bowl, brothers, not leaving you ladies out, but it's usually the guys. Brothers, if you love football, do not watch the Super Bowl. What? If you love football, don't watch it. Because you're not supposed to love anything in the world. Don't love it. Do not love it. Don't love it. Don't love it. Don't love any of the things of the world. but I really enjoy it. Oh, if you enjoy it, and you want to leave it at that level, go watch the game. Have a good time. I'd shut off the rest of the commercials in the halftime show, but the game might be on. You might apply the same thing to fishing, but down here in the peninsula, I might get run out of the auditorium. If you love fishing. But is it true? Is it right? If you're in love with something, and it's not God, and God didn't tell you to love it, then don't love it. He told you to love your brothers. He told you to love your wives. He told you to love your children. He told you to love your enemies. And he said, don't love the world or anything of the world. Don't love money. You get that over and over again. Don't love money. Make sure that you're free from the love of money. Elders must be free of the love of money. The love of money brings all sorts of evil. It's the root of all sorts of evil. He who loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Well, you laughed heartily when I said, okay, let's collect up all your money and be done with it. You know, I got a Visa card email this morning. This morning. It said, use your Visa card for a chance to win $1 million. That's almost as irritating as I think it might have been the Winter Olympics a few years ago, but one of those times I remember they kept saying for one of the cards, use our card and we'll give money to this charity. Please use our card. For every time you use our card, we'll give money to the charity. That irritated me at such a fundamental level. If the charity is so good, then support it. But don't ask me to go into debt and be foolish with the use of my money for you to do something good. This morning, use our Visa card for a chance to win $1 million. Well, with that list of being said that it even consumes us like fire, that the money can consume us like fire, what would you do in Louise White's place? Go pick up your check, give them your number, $144 million deposited into your bank account. A wise man told me once, I never saw anyone grow spiritually who developed a wealthy income. I never saw extreme wealth grow someone spiritually, but I've seen it ruin a lot of people spiritually. I've never seen a sudden gain of wealth grow anyone in the Lord, but I've seen it ruin a lot of people. So, do you want it? Jesus, I know it's dangerous stuff. I know it's hard, and the brother who told me that, I know that you've never seen anybody grow in the Lord who've gotten a gain, but I want to try. I will put myself out. Let me try, right? Isn't that kind of what you think about it? All those other foolish people, they got that money and they let them drag it down. But I won't drag me down. Let me try. I can do it. Because I'm so careful. I can't even keep my garage clean. And I think I'm going to be able to handle a pile of money. Well, not the $640 million, that thing that they all right. I won't take the $144 million that Louise got. But a couple of million? How about just one or two? like Tevye of Fiddler on the Roof. Lord, would it have spoiled some vast eternal plan if you made me wealthy? Well, the truth is I'm thinking of almost any scale across the globe, every person in this room is physically and materially wealthy. I know some of you live on very modest incomes, so I'm not thinking on anybody's modesty or humility here. But compared to around the world, we're pretty wealthy people. We're pretty wealthy people. You know, there was an argument about this that somebody brought to Jesus that caused the parable that we used this weekend, one of them anyway. In Luke chapter 12, the parable of the man who built bigger barns. And wonderful overflow of crops, productive land, and he where will I store my crops, he says in verse 17. This is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store up all my grain and my goods. You know the end of the story. That very night, his life was required of him. God said to him, "You fool. You fool. This very night your soul is required of you, and now who will own what you have prepared? So is the man who stores up treasure for himself," verse 21, "and is not rich toward God." All of that was told when the man came to Jesus in verse 13. You got to read context. Context is great in Scripture. Read context. Verse 13, someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." You ever gotten into one of those? A family that loved each other. It ended up slamming the door in each other's face and not speaking to each other for years and years on end because I didn't get what I deserved. I want mine. I want mine. And our Lord, perfect, formed, consistent. What did he answer the question with? A question. He does it all the time. He does it all the time. Man, who appointed me a judge or arbiter over you? Who did you want deciding the fairness or the balance or the rightness of some situation in your life? How about the only righteous man to ever walk on the planet? Jesus, if not you to judge the rightness of this situation, well then who, Lord? Well, Jesus, he's just asking for a fair shake. That guy is not letting them handle this. You want to look into Jesus? Beware, he said, verse 15. Be on your guard against every form of greed, for not even when one has an abundance does his life consist of his possessions. So we chuckled a little bit ago about not working, stopping to pay at our job and collecting up all the money in the room. I'll watch over it, by the way. Collecting up all the money in the room because it's so dangerous. Money is so dangerous. It is deadly. It is dangerous. And in fact, the end of what we read, that it's like a fire in James chapter 5, verse 3. It's like a fire. I think fire ends up being a really good analogy for we're not allowed to live our lives without money. By Scripture, we're not allowed to live our lives without money. This isn't like out alcohol, in which you say, you know, drunkenness is a violation of God and of Christ, His law and of my body. I will never touch alcohol for the rest of my life. I will never drink any of it. Sound conclusion for a real problem. Lying. Lying is an action of Satan. It's something he perfects. God is all about truth, and I will never knowingly participate in a lie for all of my life. I will never lie. That stings a little. We stumble over our own lies. But at least we can say, I'll never do it. I will never do it. The same could be said with cussing or with immorality in an intimate way outside of our marriages or outside of the only right relationship in marriage. But you can't do that with money. You can't say, this stuff is dangerous, it's horrible, therefore I will never have anything to do with money for the rest of my life. I will never have anything to do with possessions. Materialism will kill you, and I don't want anything to do. Can't do that. We're specifically told to take care of our families. We're specifically told to work hard, raise our children. We're specifically told, right after the elders were told to be free from the love of money, he's told to manage his family well. In 2 Corinthians 12:14, it says children don't save up for their parents, but the parents save up for their children. We're supposed to be creating a fund, a reserve fund, for when our children take off into life to give them a bit of a launch. That's Scripture. And we're supposed to be responsible. We're not supposed to be good at dumpster diving to feed our families. You know, the elder and his family aren't supposed to be living under the bridge. We're supposed to have well-managed households. So this fire is a good analogy for it because it'll destroy. It'll tear your house down to worthlessness. But if you keep it in your furnace, if you take that same fire and you keep it under control inside of a furnace or a wood box, it'll save you from the cold. The same thing is deadly and in fact, in the sense of fire, necessary for our modern society. Where would we be without corralling the flame? Millions of explosions in our automobile engines brought us here this weekend. We have corralled fire and have it, in many good ways, controlled. So it is with money. We're not allowed by Christ, by God, to say, okay, I'll have nothing to do with it. I'm going to become my own monk and just shuffle around from doorway to doorway and beg for food from this person and the next person. We're not allowed that. We're told we need to have possessions. We need to have money. Don't you love any of it? Don't you love it? Don't you love it? Don't you love it? One of the lies is that money is powerful. It's just the illusion of power. You know, the lesson this morning is the grass really greener? Is the grass really greener on the other side of the fence, or does it just look that way? Well, I imagine most everybody here drove down Marydale this morning, and all the way down at the end, I think it might be the Joann's parking lot, but if it's not that one, it's the next one up. But there's a grass strip by the road, so we're driving up. He's chuckling, you saw it. There's a grass strip, so I'm driving down the road and I do this. Well, nobody else in the car notices, and I said, was that grass? What grass? There's grass all around. No, that green stuff back there. That had to be artificial. Except it was really fine. Like maybe somebody, you know, that brand new grass is real fine and bright green. So I wasn't sure it was artificial. Oh, I saw some of your heads shaking that time. It looked nice. But then I'm driving past every other lawn on Marydale, and they're brown, with not a tinge of green in them. Is the grass really greener, or is it artificial? I think it's a great subtitle to this. Write that right here. Is the grass really green, or is it? And I think that's a great analogy for what the world does. It looks greener, but it's plastic. It's just plastic. Don't hang on to that. Don't go there. You see, money just looks powerful. I know it's convenient sometimes, but it's dangerous. It will burn you. How weak is money? In Berlin, Carol and I got to go visit Berlin, communist Berlin, in 1980, whatever it was, 3, I guess. 1983, Brady wasn't even a glimmer in our eye yet. Andrew was a little girl, stayed with some church friends of ours, and we got to drive across the corridor through East Germany. It's a long story about why this was all possible. It's a fascinating story, the story about Berlin, because it was still a U.S. and French and such sector, a free sector and a communist sector, a Soviet sector on the other side. But because we were occupying forces, I was in the military, they could not keep us out. It was part of the World War II agreement still in 1980, whatever. So we got to go into East Berlin, drive our own private vehicle into communist Berlin. They couldn't touch us, couldn't stop us, but I had to wear my uniform because I was there as an occupying soldier, and Carol and I went just with a little private group of folks from church. It was 4 of us. And the kicker is that the economy was so weak in East Germany, it was a 10-to-1 money ratio. Every dollar got 10 East Deutschmarks. So when you went over there, your money was very powerful. I mean, you had all of a sudden you had pockets full of money. So you could eat a fine multi-course dinner at a nice restaurant for $1.50. That kind of amazing. So we ended up going to this toy store, and we have nieces and nephews and folks back home and whatever. And into this toy store, they had little wooden toy boats, they had doll houses, they had dolls. They had, 75 cents for a wooden toy boat, a beautiful little thing like this that a child could play with, and $1 for a wooden truck with a dump and a big thing with big rubber wheels. Beautiful stuff. Not the finest manufacturing you've ever seen, but incredibly inexpensive. And we could think of all sorts of children to buy these things for. So, get this for our daughter, and get this for our nieces, and get this for so-and-so's friends. And so we're going up to the register like this because our money was so valuable there. And I'm standing in line, barely able to hold the little mini mountain of toys I've got in my hand. And the woman in front of me, in dingy clothing, an old coat, this was late winter, was shuffling along, waiting her turn in line, and bent over her finger, bent over her index finger, were 3 red balloons. And she's holding them, waiting her turn to buy 3 red balloons. Her own child, her grandchild, her friend. You know what I felt like? I wanted to give her the pile of toys in my arms. I'm in uniform. You know what I was representing? I wanted to go back and put every one of those toys back on those shelves. You think money's powerful? No. Money weakens us. More powerful story, though. This story was told in a group I was with. The missionaries came back from Quito, Ecuador. And there, the church in Quito, Ecuador, one of their mission fields is to go out to the people who live at the edge of the city dump. Live at the edge of the city dump. That's all they can do, is they can afford, is to go into the dump and scrounge out some pieces of corrugated whatever as a shelter and get some rotten, or hopefully not too rotten food to feed their families and whatever else. So they would bring food as part of their outreach, as part of their gospel teaching. They would bring food to these families, and they had prearranged with one woman to go visit with her. So here's a couple of young American missionaries going for the first time into these hovels, corrugated pieces of sheets and a piece of cloth over the doorway, and they're carrying a box of food. And the woman of the home opens up the door, and the two Americans go in with this box of food, and they hand it to her. She pulls the sheets back, and they go inside, and there's a little burning fire in the middle that goes out into a hole in the center. And they sit down next to her, and the woman takes out of the box the beans and the canned goods and the vegetables and the different things out of this box. And in the box is a box of cookies. There's one box of cookies in this box. And the girl has a little daughter. This little girl is standing behind her mother, and the little girl's eyes. And she looks, and that's all set down, and they sit on the floor, and they talk for a while. The Americans and the woman there. And finally, the little girl shuffles over to her mother and whispers in her mother's ear and says, obviously, something about the cookies. Her mother nods her head. The little girl scurries over and picks up the box of cookies, goes back to her mother. Her mother carefully opens the box and pulls out the little parcel tray with the cookies in it. The girl looks down, takes the box, and walks over to the Americans and offers them. What do you do? We are fat on our cookies. When was the last time that little girl ever saw it? You going to tell her no? Are you going to look that little girl in the eye and say, no, I won't take your hospitality? You can't do it. You can't do it. You got to take one. But it's going to change you. That's why I was hearing that story, because those young folks came back and they were changed. They had to tell us what changed their heart. And it wasn't the power of money. It was them tripping over their own money. Our materialism is shaking us and injuring us at all kinds of levels, and we don't realize it. We have to be aware and careful how humble it is. Listen to James chapter 1. Turn to James chapter 1, because we're doing this very thing. We don't pay much attention to this verse. I don't teach it all that much. James chapter 1. James chapter 1, verse 9. But the brother of humble circumstances is to glory in his high position. It's talking about money. James 1, verse 9. But the brother of humble circumstances is to glory in his high position. And the rich man is to glory in his humiliation, because he is like flowering grass. He will pass away. There's power, but it's not found in being wealthy. If you're wealthy, and you thank God for your humility, that it doesn't take over. So what do we do with money? The stuff we have to have that we can't love. Real quickly, 1 Thessalonians 4:11 and 2 Thessalonians 3:10 and 11. Earn money, earn it honestly. Work with your hands. Work with your hands. Be active in earning money. Teach our young folks to earn money. Take care of your own responsibilities. 2 Corinthians 12:14, we just read about saving it for your children. Put money away for the future so that your children and your family will be well cared for in the future. Take care of your own family in 1 Timothy 5:4 and verse 8 and verse 16 and 2 Thessalonians 3:12 and 13. We're told that we need to take care of our own families. Specifically, Timothy being taught about what do we do with widows in the church. Well, if they have a family, their family should take care of them. We are to take care of one another. Be responsible. Take care of your responsibility. Save it. We should lay it aside. That's the teaching of lay aside and store. When you're ready to take a collection for the congregation, it's money that we laid aside. We saved it. When the PFD comes in, we have gained an extra benefit. We have prospered in money. We take a section, a whole portion of that money, and lay it aside. When your paycheck comes in, either mentally or on paper or physically, you save it. You lay it aside as something that I'm going to give to the local congregation for the work that they do. We should save money. Ephesians 4:28 says that we should work with our hands, and that we might be able to share with those in need. And that also implies being able to save it up, to lay it aside. When there's a brother or a sister or a family or a neighbor who's in need, we have not overspent ourselves. We have not overextended ourselves. We have saved up and set aside and are prepared to give to others as they need. Into that, in the meeting of our own responsibilities, I think important in this aspect is to allow our families to live on one income. Young folks, brand new young married couples, and those of you who are not yet married, set that as a goal that you can live on one income. Because when the babies come, you're going to want someone home with babies. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to live on two incomes. You don't need the bigger house. A rented apartment is fine for a long time. The longer I own a home, the more I admire Paul staying in his own rented home at the end of Acts. I go, I gotta have a rented home and not an owned one. Despite the economic benefit I get from owning a home, I still think I'd be better off if I had more free time to do other work rather than taking care of my house. You see, I'm a fool if I stay home and take care of this big thing I've tied around my neck. And I'm a fool if I don't take care of that big thing that I tied around my neck. It's true. If I spend my time taking care of the house that I have and the property it's on, it's not the most important thing that needs to be done. But if I don't take care of it, what a fool am I? So what do I do? So, you set yourself up now. Older cars are fine. You don't need the new furniture. Don't use credit cards. Allow yourself to live on one income. It'll provide you with great rewards in the future. Give it away. The early church in Acts 4 gave to everyone as they had need, Acts 4:34. And at the end of 1 Timothy chapter 6, where we were, we didn't get down to the very end because the end of that chapter goes right back into the rich, into those who are rich. Instruct those who are rich, verse 17, 1 Timothy 6, verse 17. Instruct those who are rich in this present world not to be conceited or to fix their hope on uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly supplies us with all things to enjoy. Instruct them to do good, to be rich in good work, to be generous and ready to share, storing up for themselves the treasures of a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is life indeed. There's something more valuable out there. Use this stuff. If you're rich in this present world, be generous with your money. Give it away generously. Be purposeful. Be godly. Be thoughtful. Be generous. Be caring with it. be caring with it, generous and compassionate. Luke chapter 16. Turn there in one more verse and the lesson is yours. Luke chapter 16. We'll start in verse 10. He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. He who is unrighteous in a very little thing is unrighteous also in much. Therefore, if you have not been faithful in the use of unrighteous wealth, who will entrust true riches to you? It'll burn you. Don't love it, the money, or all the stuff it'll buy. It's like hoping in the plastic grass up the road. It looks nice, it glitters, it sounds nice. But it has nothing, it's just tissue. There's nothing to it. There are true riches. We're given this illusionary wealth. God says, I've got true wealth for you. If you can be trustworthy in this stuff, I've got something that's really valuable. There's something precious out there. Something precious out there. It's given to us by God in His Son, Jesus Christ. I actually read this the other day, and it's one of my favorite verses in Scripture. We'll end this lesson with it. Jeremiah 9:23. Jeremiah 9:23. If this hasn't been one of your memory verses, let it be. Write it down on a 3x5 card and stick it to your mirror. Read it every morning. Put it on the dashboard of your car. Thus says the Lord, let not a wise man boast of his wisdom. Let not the mighty man boast of his might. Let not a rich man boast of his riches. But let him who boasts, boast of this. Don't boast in your riches. Boast of this, that he understands and knows me. That I am the Lord who exercises loving kindness, justice, and righteousness on earth. Pride, delight. What an awesome God we have. He's wealthy beyond measure, and He's our Father. Best news is His inheritance of Jesus is eternal. We have an inheritance from real wealth. Let's rejoice that we know Him. Thank you for your attention this morning. God bless you.